Hello, everyone. Hello. Good afternoon, Dr. Kent.
Yeah, good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we're grateful that you are able to join us. Dr. Anurag is also there.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am. This is Anurag.
Good afternoon, Anurag. How are you?
Fine, ma'am. Fine.
Oh, fine. Yeah. So we kept it in the afternoon because most of the classes, online classes, they're held in the morning. So
Yes,
we
ma'am.
thought that it was a convenient time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. In the evening, it will be good.
Yes. We morning everything happens today. In the morning we had a RDC meeting of a PhD presentation. So it finished at 1:45. So it was a
Okay.
long one. It was a long one.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
So we are waiting for speaker to
Yes.
join.
Yes. Dr. Manoj Patairiya. He has. We'll just wait for him.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Hello, Professor. Professor
Good
Patairiya,
afternoon.
hello.
Yes, yes, hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Nice. So
Ma'am,
thank.
should we start now?
Yeah. Yes,
Yes.
I think we can start. Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Mamta Manoj, and I'm working as senior scientist with the DST-Centre for Policy Research at Punjab University, Chandigarh. So I welcome everyone for participating in this webinar. So today we are having a webinar on a very important and crucial issue, which is researchers and engineers as public awareness for public awareness of science. The talk will be delivered by a distinguished scientist from DST, Government of India, Dr. Manoj Kumar Patairiya, who is a chemical studies and is also advisor with Science and Engineering Research Council, Government of India. So I think this topic is very important and should be attended by not only students but also by everyone, researcher, faculty member who is associated with the science. Because science communication is very crucial subject for everyone, and it is very ignored also by the participants of it today. So I welcome you all. And before starting with this webinar, I would like to give some announcements. First one is please switch off your microphone to avoid disturbance during the presentation of Professor Pataria. And the second announcement is please drop questions in the chat box. We will ask all of them as our time limit allows us. And third one is very important. Please post your details like your name, your department, or your designation, the name of the institute, and your email ID in the chat box, because this time we are distributing certificates also for the participants. So make sure to post your details in chat box so that you all will get all the participation certificate once this webinar is finished. So these are the announcement I wanted to make. Now I would like to invite Professor Nirmala to give a formal introduction of our worthy speaker, Professor Manoj Kumar Pataria. But before this, I would like to give a brief introduction of Professor Nirmala Chongtham. Professor Nirmala is the professor with the Department of Botany from Punjab University, Chandigarh, and she is very renowned scientist and professor with the department, and also a World Bamboo Ambassador from India. And recently has written a book on bamboo technology, which is published by Taylor and Francis. So this book I personally have seen this. So I now invite Professor Nirmala to give a formal introduction of our worthy speaker. Over to you, ma'am. I think, ma'am, you are muted.
Thank you, Ma'am. And good afternoon to and welcome to all. On the onset, before I start, I would like to mention that our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Rajkumar, was to address the gathering, but due to some urgent meeting, he is not able to join us today. It is my privilege and pleasure to welcome and introduce Professor Manoj Kumar Pataria, who is currently Head and Advisor, Science and Engineering Research Council, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Thank you, Professor Pataria, for your consent to share with us your vast knowledge and experience. An accomplished administrator, academician, and scientist, and communication professional, Professor Pataria specializes in biosciences, mass media, management, and policy, and will be talking on researcher as communicator for public awareness of science, which I feel that it is very important to make aware, especially the young generation about science. And he has held a number of positions in addition to his current position. He has been the director of CSR, National Institute of Science Communication and Information Resources, New Delhi, then Additional Director General of Prasar Bharati, the Public Service Broadcaster of India, And he has been responsible for setting up a 24/7 satellite TV channel, DD Kisan, including external broadcasts, and served as head and advisor, National Council of Science and Technology Communication, and started a variety of innovative programs. And also, he is decorated with prestigious national and international awards, and has a number of publications, including books and patents granted to his credit. And recently, he has been elected as the chair of International Association of Academies and Society of Sciences in Asia. And in recognition of his work, he has been invited to several countries for delivering talks and interactions. We are really fortunate to have you here, sir. I, on behalf of Punjab University and on my personal behalf, welcome and thank Professor Patairiya for joining us today to deliver his talk on researcher as communicator for public awareness of science, which is very important to create awareness about science as we move through the 21st century. And we can only do this by connecting with people, especially the young generation. Professor Pataria, kindly, I welcome you to deliver your talk. And
I think sir has lost the connection. Oh, he is here.
or muted.
Yeah, I think now it should be okay. Am I audible?
Yes,
Mm.
yes, sir, you
Yes,
are
sir.
audible.
Okay, okay. So now it's my privilege and pleasure to be part of this wonderful program on DST Science Policy Research Center at Punjab University. And I congratulate all of you for organizing this program on behalf of DST PCR and Punjab University, especially the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Rajkumarji, who is not is unable to join, and all dignitaries, and Mamtaji and the coordinators, and all distinguished faculty members, dear students and friends. I am really delighted to share some of my essay thoughts on this occasion of this meeting. And my area, as you have rightly mentioned, has been for a couple of decades dedicated to science and technology communication. And over the period, I was able to learn and experience number of things here and there. So my presentation is a kind of a collage of some of the glimpses of the activities that I have undertaken, and how it can really motivate to the young researchers who are looking for as a career, not only as a scientist, but also as a communicator. So it could be beneficial for them. But although at the same time, the sky is all open for them, they can have their own ideas, they can have their own imagination, they can have their own innovation, not only in science and technology, but also in communication. So thereby, they can really look forward for a better tomorrow in the area of public awareness of science and technology. And I think my presentation may be helpful for them some way for choosing a career in science communication, or maybe science communication as a hobby or as a part-time. Many scientists, they are now trying to be communicator, and many communicator, those who have flair in science and technology, or understanding in science and technology, as well as flair in language of communication. I am not talking about the language that is Hindi, English, Punjabi, Udiya, Telugu, etc. But it is a language of communication. Whatever language you are using, it has to be comprehensible to the people you are already targeting to them. So that is very, very important. So communication is very important, irrespective of the language, irrespective of the subject. So this communication skill needs to be nurtured, needs to be inculcated into the minds, into the culture, into the process of education, process of science and technology, so that we are able to connect the scientific research to the masses. Because the ultimate beneficiary of whatever science we are doing in laboratory is the masses. So unless the science reaches to the nooks and corners of the country, I think we cannot make best use of it. So making best use of that knowledge, I think that is required to be percolated deeper into the society. So I will take you through my presentation. I will try to link this if I am able to do that through this. And if you are able to see that, uh, uh, just a moment. Uh, no, it has not come. Let me check further. Yes. I think you should be able to see my presentation.
Yes, sir, we can see it.
Yes. Yes, it has come. So I will make it full screen. Yes, now it has come. So the topic of my presentation I have kept for today's discussion is researcher as communicator for public awareness of science. And it gives a kind of understanding how a scientist can be a better communicator, although it is open to the communicators as well as the scientists to become a science communicator. I will begin with this quote that is by Dr. Samuel Johnson that says that knowledge is of two kinds. We know a subject ourselves, or we know from where we can find information about it. So the first half is very, very important for science communication, because most of the time the communicator has to communicate number of varieties of scientific subjects, not only confining to one subject. But when you are a researcher, mostly you are confining to only one subject. So that subject has to be communicated by you. But slowly, when you convert yourself as a communicator, you will see the fun communicating others' works as well, not only your work, but the work of your fellow researchers. So that is a kind of concept here. Dr. Samuel Johnson is trying to emphasize that knowledge is of two kinds. We know a subject ourselves, mean we ourselves are the expert of a particular subject, or we are not expert, but we have the access of expertise from different sources. It could be a person, it could be a friend, it could be a scientist, or it could be encyclopedia or book or a journal, or whatever source you can find the authentic information, so that one can refer. So two kinds of expertise: one, we have ourselves, we know the subject, and the other, we can find the information from somewhere else. So the second half is more important for becoming a communicator, because in science and technology what we do, we take a very narrow area and we try to focus upon that, do very hardcore research and find out some conclusions, and verify our hypothesis. And somehow, if it is technological advancement, it can be in the form of technology. Otherwise, as a kind of, if it is fundamental knowledge, then it will add to the new knowledge, the pool of new knowledge. So, but if you look at other side, when a communicator is writing only herself and his own subject area, then in the entire span of his or her life, he should be writing only one article or only one piece of communication one can have. But look at from the perspective of a communicator. So first point is you have to give up. You have to give up. I am taking you different terrain. You have to give up your expertise area and look around and find the areas of the interest of the common people. So if the common people are interested in various kinds of aspects of science and technology, I think as a researcher, if you are turning yourself as a communicator, so you have to look around and spot the areas which can really infuse the people around and pick up these areas, develop the article, develop paper, prepare a radio program, develop a television program, or maybe a kind of blog, or maybe a kind of lecture. So this is how one can convert from a researcher to a communicator. But if you are confined to only your own subject, most likely you will be writing only one or two papers, not more than that. Only one or two articles, not more than that. Only one or two radio or TV programs, not more than that. So as a communicator, you have to contribute with hundreds of articles, with hundreds of radio and TV programs. So how it is going to come? It is going to come only when you are looking around and finding the areas that have some scientific relevance, that has some scientific value. At the same time, they are also interesting for the common masses. So this is the first aspect. You have to keep aside your expertise and you have to look for various other sources. It could be a friend, it could be a fellow researcher, It could be an encyclopedia, as I said, or any journal from where you can find the information and try to put together in the form of an article, a feature, and subsequently it can be published in newspaper or magazine, or maybe broadcast through radio or television, or maybe through social media or digital media, whatever the case may be. So this quotation of Samuel Johnson is very important. Although all around the world there is a debate is going on, the debate says that whether a science communicator, whether a science communicator should be an expert in science and technology or not. But the majority of the people, they believe that if the expertise is there, that is very good. But that cannot be treated as a prerequisite for becoming a science communicator. But the only thing that is required is to able to assimilate the scientific jargon, to be able to comprehend, and subsequently one should be able to explain or to express in a manner so that it becomes comprehensible to the common man. So that is the first and foremost requirement, prerequisite for becoming a science communicator. But you have the degree, that is very good. That is an advantage. But you don't have, doesn't matter. You can acquire the knowledge from different sources, from some reliable sources, of course. Let me move forward. Science communication for various countries has different definitions. Like, look at from the developed countries perspective. There you will find that tap water is drinking water. But in India, that is not the case. As a matter of fact, more than 80% diseases are caused by unpotable drinking water. So where lakhs of children, lakhs of people die every year for unpotable drinking water. The disease is caused and the people are queuing up in the hospitals. Something like 80% people are there suffering from waterborne diseases like jaundice, diarrhea, and whatnot. And many people die every year. This can be stopped. This can be somehow, these diseases are curable. So by only making the people available the potable drinking water, or promoting the technologies, promoting the techniques, filtering techniques, or maybe some desalination techniques in the coastal areas, this is how we should be able to handle this problem. But unless this problem is handled, the science communication is the key for really making people aware. But as a contrast, if you look at the foreign country, these developed countries, there are many things which are they have already addressed. But in the countries like India, we are still suffering from them, and we are still struggling from them. So science communication for developing countries perspective is different. So we have tried to uh, give a definition to define science communication from Indian perspective. It says that science communication is the key to the real treasure of scientific knowledge, only by which the benefits of science and scientific temper could be carried to the common man, and thus the common man is benefited with the new advancements in various fields of science and technology, and is able to fight against hunger, diseases, drought, and social evils like superstitions, etc., with courage and self-confidence. So that is the major concept of science communication from Indian perspective. That is far away from the concept of science communication in developed countries, where for them science communication is only making fun, just to go around, do some experiments, or encouraging children to take up science as a career, although that is also our objective. But saving and shaping the lives of the people is the primary objective of science communication from Indian perspective, where a researcher can really play an important role for educating people in various aspects of science and technology, for helping them shape and save their lives. Here, I think India is the only country so far that has as its part of its constitution a guiding principle that says it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to develop the scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform as part of 4th A, Section 51A of the Constitution of India. This is very obvious that being an Indian citizen, this is the every citizen's responsibility and fundamental duty to develop a scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. Mostly, when we talk about scientific temper, we know that scientific temper is a kind of way of thinking, way of working, how we are able to conduct in the society, how rational we are, how analytical we are, how we are able to take decisions without any bias, without any prejudice, without any fear, without any greed, and without any pressure. If we are having that kind of attribute, it means we are having a scientific temper. But scientific temper per se doesn't require a scientific knowledge. If you have the scientific knowledge, it's an advantage. But at the same time, a person who is having BSc, MSc, or PhD may be lacking scientific temper, but at the same time, a person who is working in the field, an illiterate, even farmer or a worker or a laborer, one can have the scientific temper. So scientific temper has nothing to do directly with the scientific knowledge. But if you have the scientific knowledge, that is very good. But that is not the prerequisite. The main thing is how you conduct in the society, how systematic you are, how analytical you are, how you are able to take decisions, right kind of decisions. And moreover, as Gandhiji has said, that science always must have a human angle, because it is not the machine that should control the man, but it should be the man who should be controlling the machine. So now, as we are now finding the challenges of nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, most of the our public areas, they are going to be impacted by these new technologies. So in that scenario also, like artificial intelligence, if you look at everywhere, even when you are booking a rail ticket or a air ticket, then you will find number of suggestions are pop up on your screen. And if you are googling something, finding out something on Google, as a matter of fact, if you are trying to find out something on Google, maybe some innovative idea, before you file a patent, there are agencies who will take away your idea, and they are going to file a patent. So this is how this artificial intelligence is really working. It is also useful, but there are other dimensions of the new emerging technologies. So always the humanism, the human angle is always important, where it is the man who controls the technology, not the technology who controls the man. So that should be the spirit. And the spirit of inquiry, we have a tendency in the society also to take decisions, to take some perceptions, taking decisions based on perceptions, but that is not the truth unless you reach to the root cause, and you find out through analysis, through analytical processes, through experimentation, using the method of science, you cannot reach to the conclusion. So this is how this spirit of inquiry is very, very important. And based on the new evidence, you have to be agreeable for new reforms. So reforms is also a kind of tool and means for overall development. So all these 4-5 elements like scientific temper, humanism, spirit of inquiry, and reform, they are fundamental duties being every citizen. And the scientific thinking or scientific process, that is method of science, is at the core of this process. So India is blessed with this kind of guiding principle. And I think each one of us has to follow that, not only developing in ourselves, but also developing in the fellow citizens, the scientific temper and the spirit of inquiry and reform and humanism. And science communication makes it possible. I have tried to draw this communication cycle, especially for our younger researchers. Suppose there is a sender. Sender is a kind of communicator who wants to communicate a message, that is scientific message, and the message has to be communicated in an environment, and that environment has to be conducive. I am not talking about the environment like greenery or something like that. Here, environment is like I am communicating with you. So this is also a digital environment. Sometimes there could be distortion. So similarly, wherever you are communicating, maybe in classroom, maybe in public, or maybe giving a lecture, or maybe in digital form, so environment has to be conducive. Only then you have to be able to communicate the right content and the perspective. And the medium you have to select where you are comfortable, and that medium is really workable. Like here we are using the digital medium. So similarly, there are several medium: direct medium, indirect medium, broadcast medium, through internet, through print, through radio, through television. So various kinds of medium or media are available. So in the given medium, in a given environment, through some media, you are communicating the message. Then message reaches to the receiver. Then what the receiver does? Receiver has to understand the message. So he has he has to have the capability of receiving or understanding the message. Unless he or she understands the message, your effort is useless. So it is the responsibility of sender also to provide a conducive environment, to provide a conducive atmosphere, to provide a conducive medium for reaching the message in a right perspective to the receiver, and receiver is able to understand the message. And then it is reached at right place and in right perspective or not. Accordingly, you can revise our subsequent messages. So this is how the entire communication cycle gets completed. So as a communicator, I think one needs to understand the entire cycle. It is not an one-way process. It is a one-way process. It is a cycle. Unless the cycle is completed, it is a two-way process. It is a multilateral process of communication. So I think one has to be very clear when we are coming to the area of science and technology communication. Now, look at the objectives of science communication. So this is a kind of I have summarized the objectives here: to motivate youngsters to develop an excitement towards science and to take up scientific research as a career, to develop journalistic skills to safeguard public interest at large, to spread science and technology awareness, and inculcate a scientific and technological temper. In fact, in fact, a number of activities which are taking place in various parts of the country, they require a kind of negotiation and other skills, like science activism and forming public opinion. Like you must have seen the case of wooden column reactor. A lot of agitations were there. Similarly, number of occasions you will find, like in Punjab, when this Nangal Dam was being erected, then there was an agitation, and people were saying that if you take away all the energy from the water, and from energyless water, if we irrigate our fields, then our children will not get the energy. So that was the misperception. So how this misperception can be really avoided by an appropriate dose of science and technology communication. So then building bridges between science, media, and society and industry. So these are some of the major objectives of science communication, and we are really looking forward for. Could be the motivators. They could be in fact the ambassadors for creating a kind of interest in younger generation for taking up scientific research and science as a career as well as a hobby. India is blessed with a number of languages, and as a matter of fact, for the constitution, something like 22 regional languages we have, and something like 100, and we are communicating with different regions. Common thread is communication. There are various food habits. For example, India 1,000 recorded food recipes. There are cultural diversities, and media, television has something like 97% coverage, radio almost 100%, and print something like 7%, and digital media is 1.8%. So this is the scenario, and as a resolution by the Indian Science Writers Association, we have an objective to enhance the science coverage in mass media to something like 10%. And that is the ideal situation, and for which we require our young researchers to be contributing for various kinds of mass media, the science coverage, because we believe, because media has its wider reach, and through media, science and technology can be percolated to deeper into the society. So media could be the very good vehicle, and to drive that vehicle, we require the young researchers to join as science communicators, and that could be very exciting. In India, the first science journalism started something like 200 years before, in 1818, from Shirampur in West Bengal. And the first magazine that was published, its name is Digdarshan. It started publication in Bengali, Hindi, and English to begin with, and it carried number of science and technology articles in the beginning. Let me clarify that Digdarshan was not the first popular science magazine. It was a general magazine carrying some articles on popular science. So, and it contained the articles on geography, agriculture, zoology, physics, history, discoveries like Columbus. It was not illustrated. It used remarkably simple language. February 1821 issue had a 10-page dictionary of words used were Calcutta School Book Society used to buy copies of Digdarshan and distribute in schools for educational content. John Clark Marshman, who was a journalist and a historian, and who also knew Bengali, Sanskrit, and Hindi, including Chinese, he was the editor. And he also started a paper mill, a termite-free, termite-resistant paper they required for publishing this or printing this Digdarshan. So these were the days how science journalism and science communication, popular science communication started in this country. And to begin with, it was in Hindi, English, and Bengali, and subsequently in other languages is taken forward. Various science magazines, they were started. Pure Science magazine, the first one in 1915, that was started from Allahabad, Vigyan Prasad, Allahabad, under the title Vigyan. Then Odisha Vigyan Academy started its own magazine. Kerala Shastra Sahit Parishad gave the concept of Vigyan Jatha. Marathi Vigyan Parishad has started Marathi Vigyan Parishad Patrika. Karnataka Raj Vigyan Parishad has started science clubs and various activities in various districts of the state. Publications and Information Directorate was established under the CSIR. Eventually, it became CSIR NISCARE. Then National Research Development Corporation, BARC, NCSTC, AIPSN, Indian Science Writers Association, Indian Science Congress Association, Indian Science News Association, and Times of India, Hindu. They also started giving science columns. And it also reminds me that in Punjab, mainly Pankhadiya was a magazine that used to publish science stories in Punjabi language. And similarly, in Tribune, there used to be a column called Science Tribune and Agriculture Tribune, and they included articles and features on science and agriculture. And the Punjab State Council of Science and Technology, they started a magazine, Nirantar Soch. So it carries a number of popular science articles. So this is how in the languages also, subsequently, number of activities taken place. And now we need to further give them a push, give them a fillip. And young researchers, if they join the this science communication scenario, I think that would really add to the value and authenticity of science communication activities. This is the cover page of one of the beginning issues of Vigyan that was published in 1915. Vigyan Pragati is yet another magazine published from CSIR. It's a monthly magazine. It is in Hindi and also available online. Is yet another magazine that is available in English. And many people find this very interesting, and it carries the articles and features on current affairs issues. And the major achievements that in science communication that India has achieved, like Bharat Jan Vigyan Jatha, it was in 1987. Bharat Jan Vigyan Jatha is a concept of bringing people together. It is a public to public contact. The group of enlightened people of the society, like scientists, lawyers, professors, educationists, all these people, students, scholars, including research scholars, they used to go to village with lot of information. Say for some pamphlets they will distribute, or some audio clip they will arrange whatever you can listen on mic or on gramophone or maybe through tape recorder. That was in 1987, pre-digital era. So subsequently, it is further augmented with the digital era, and now we have number of gadgets, number of activities, and most important, the smartphone as well as the laptop, through which we can communicate to the nooks and corners of the country, and through internet also with communicate. Social media is coming up in a big way, so that can be harnessed for science communication. Then Manav Ka Vikas was a serial that ran for something like 3 years together in all Akashvani Kendras. Prior to that, we had Vigyan Vidhi, yet another program. Then National Education Congress, we started to give a platform for science communication researchers. They used to come like researchers in biotechnology, researchers in other subjects, researchers in material science. Similarly, there are researchers in science communication. So where they will publish their papers. So we started a journal, Indian Journal of Science Communication, and where they present Science Communication Congress. Then there are a number of years were observed for focusing on special aspects of science communication. Then social media, digital media, and alternative media, all of them were tried over the period. So this is how you can find some new ways and means for augmenting and utilizing your skills for science and technology communication. Science communication for various classify in various one is technical communication. Technical communication, we can say that scholarly communication. It is from expert to expert. It is from scientist to scientist. It is from a scholar to a scholar. But the semi-technical communication is little further lower side. It is meant for the semi-tech, means some articles on research are can be for the public communication. Popular communication is especially meant for common man. And science journalism has a different aspect, where popular science communication is a flat kind of communication. Science journalism has some tits and bits, some twists, because they are in the business of making news. So while making news, they have to have some kind of to add on to make it more interesting, to make it more lucid, to make it more attractive. They are because they are in the business of selling science and making science news. Similarly, for communicating science to the children, genres of communication like science poetry, so through science poems, through science fiction, through science cartoons. So these are some of the ways how we can make science more interesting. And if some of you have the flair in some drawing, you can try making cartoons, that is called Scientune. If you have some flair in storytelling, you can write some science fiction, or you can start storytelling in the small groups, or you can organize a science cafe, or you can have a lecture. So this all depends to you, whatever genre you are willing to take up, and you explore yourself. There could be some hidden potential. If you are a very good orator, you can start delivering lectures. If you are very good negotiator, you can go to farms, meet the farmers, talk to them, and just try to resolve their problems. So these are various ways and means. And now the Department of Science and Technology is coming up with a policy that is called social scientific responsibility. The responsibility of a scientist, the responsibility of a researcher. It is not only your responsibility to work in the laboratory, but also it is your inherited responsibility that you should, a compulsory responsibility that you should be able to communicate whatever work you are doing in the laboratory, whatever work your fellow scientists are doing in the laboratory. So this is an added kind of responsibility for all researchers to communicate their work to the people. So this is how we should be really focusing on training researchers, training our scientists, training young scientists for taking up science areas, and you can find your interest accordingly. I have tried to classify the science communication in five steps are there. One, you have to identify a topic, and the topic has to be something on science and technology. And here, since you are having your own area, as I said in the beginning, you have to go for some another subject that will be more exciting for yourself as well as for communication. But unless you start and that way you find it whatever language you find it convenient, or you have the command, because you are communicating not with the elite class, you are communicating with the common man. So while communicating to the common man, I think the regional language is the best one. Not only the regional language, but also the dialect. Then you have to choose the media, whether you are writing for print media or radio or television or folk media or interactive media or digital media. So these are the various media which are available, but you can find out your choice. because once you decide whether you are writing for print media, so you have to write an article or a feature, or even print media, if you have decided you are writing for magazine or a newspaper. Suppose if you are writing for a newspaper, then you have to decide whether you are writing a report or a feature, or you are writing an op-ed, an editorial page you are writing, so, or a book review, or maybe so these are various segments of writing that one can have a choice over that, and subsequently one can develop an expertise. Suppose somebody should be writing a feature, somebody should be writing a science fiction. A friend of ours from CDRI Lucknow, Mr. Pradeep Srivastava, he has developed a kind of concept that is called Signtune. I will show at the end of my program couple of his Sign-tunes, just to give a glimpse how we can make science popular using science cartoons. It's a combination of science plus cartoon called Sign-tunes. Then you can have the target group identified, whether you are communicating with common men, children, farmers, women, workers, experts, students. So once the picture is clearer in your mind, your communication would be of that kind. Then you have to select various formats, whichever impresses you and where you feel comfortable, or here you want to give an attempt. So this is how you can really move forward in the area of communication, and taking up science communication as a hobby, being simultaneously a researcher. And there are 5 elements. Content has to be in your story. The language has to be very simple. How and why should be explained. It should be analytical, and it should be newsworthy. If something happened long back, nobody may be interested, but it has happened yesterday or today, or maybe going to happen in a couple of days, everybody would be interested. So there has to be some news value. Only then people will understand. So whatever you are doing, unless you add on, unless you give some current perspective, it may not be that much attractive. So add some current perspective to it, then it will become more appropriate. And science as a commodity, if you consider, then selling science as a sugar coated pill, because science is considered to be very hard, unattractive, and boring. So you have to have some kind of sugar coating. You have to make it interesting. It is a recipe for commoners, not for the experts. It should be full of spice and flavor, but at the same time, it should not lose its content. The content, scientific content, has to be there. Less technical jargon. There comes a problem of technical terminology. So you have to filter out the technical jargon, because if you are using technical jargon in research paper, then it will be very interesting. But when it comes to the common man, to the students, to the children, I think you have to filter out the jargon. So how to filter out the jargon? I will give you an example. Because I am from the biotechnology field, so my examples are from biosciences. I will give you there is a term called satellite DNA. So in biotechnology, satellite DNA, if you turn the dictionary maybe in any language, you will find satellite means upagraha and DNA means DNA, you know. So most likely you would be writing you would be writing only upagraha DNA, but upagraha DNA could be misleading. People can think that this DNA has come from upagraha, or maybe satellite, or maybe something. It can be distorted. So just to avoid that, better you say a fragment of DNA that helps taking the DNA of one organism to the other organism. So it works as a vehicle. So rather saying it satellite DNA or upagraha DNA, you can just explain in a language or two. Thereby it becomes very, very interesting and very, very informative. People can really understand that. So dejargonization is the main aspect of science population or science communication. Just to avoid the technical terms, explain in your own language, explain in the people's language, so that they are able to understand. It has to be, as I said, newsworthy and trustworthy, target oriented, and supported by facts and figures. We call, if you have doubt, delete it out. Never give wrong information. Otherwise, you will lose the trust of your audience. So always maintain the trust of your audience. So these are some of the tips I wanted to share with you for becoming a science communicator. and add some stories, give some Indian perspective. If you are taking something what is happening in the US or Australia or Russia or Germany, wherever, so you can add on some Indian perspective. So if you add on some Indian perspective, that adds to the value. Only then the Indian audience would be interested. Otherwise, something happened here and there, nobody may be interested. So these are some of the astute thoughts that I wanted to share. And one thing I would like to emphasize that whenever you are writing any piece of article or feature, the title has to be very, very attractive, very, very catchy. I will give you a couple of examples. Like during the phase of total solar eclipse, we have produced number of films. And the title of one of the films was Ring Ceremony in the Sky. Total solar eclipse. Who is going to listen? Who is going to watch? It's a simple words. It is not attractive. So make it attractive. You have to have this creative kind of title writing, because that is your trademark, that is your selling point, because you are in the business of making news, making it sellable and publicly appreciable. So you have to do in that direction, and title is the your selling point. So through that you can make it more lucid, more interesting. Incidentally, number of programs have been started for full-fledged science communication, leading to MSc and PhD by various universities and institutions. For instance, Lucknow University, Madurai Kamaraj University, Devi Ahalya University, Chennai Anna University, and recently the National Institute of Science Communication and Information Resources, that is one of the laboratories of CSIR, has started MSc and PhD in Science and Technology Communication. So they are providing the regular courses and regular training, regular education for becoming full-fledged science communicators in the country, who can shoulder the current as well as the future responsibility in science communication. So this is our way how we are trying to build up this field. And here is yet another online courses available. Incidentally, every day we are getting the hits from all over the world, various countries. This screen shows various hits we are getting from various areas. And there are opportunities in science and technology. Every lab requires a science communication professional for their science communication activities, press-related activities, exhibition, publication, newsletter, etc. Similarly, all mass media, they also require a science communicator. Corporate sector requires in a big way number of science communicators. Incidentally, most of the students passed out from these universities, they are getting jobs in corporate sector. Even international organizations are looking for that. Civil society is a great employer, not only at India level, at international level also. Self-employment is yet another way. There are people who are really self-dependent through science communication, writing books, channels, or making some very good contribution to the society through their activities, organizing events. Freelancing is yet another way. Like housewives, those who have studied science and technology, they can be very good science communicators. In the part time, they can write stories, they can write fiction, they can write poetry. And nowadays, fellowships, awards, scholarship, internships are available for promoting science communication around the country. And it also offers inclusion for everybody, because it is for common men, farmers, women, children, workers, policymakers, decision makers, artists, social workers, and who not. Research is also like you are researching in the area of science and technology. Similarly, you can undertake research in science and technology communication, and that is yet to be undertaken in India. And Western countries, number of research areas they have already developed, and number of people are working in that area. But in India, it is yet to take shape. Incidentally, PhD has now started in science communication, and we should be looking forward for postdoctorals and even beyond in science and technology communication research. I have touched upon a very delicate area, that is scientist-journalist conflict. And that is not the case in India. That is a global scenario, because the culture is different, but the objective is same. Objective is science communication, taking science to the masses. But science is a very steady and time-taking job. Say some scientist is doing research in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, but the journalist at the same time has to prepare a story in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or maybe 1 hour, or not more than 2, 3 hours. So this makes a big difference. Scientist wants that everything, whatever he or she has stated, should go in the news media, but that is not the case. As I said, scientists have their own priority, journalists have their own priority, and they are in the business of making stories. So they have to do their tits and bits. In the process, the scientist can raise the eyebrows. So this is how this, for the betterment of science communication, there has to be harmony. So we need to work closely with both the faculties, both the players, the scientists and the journalists, to diffuse the tension for the betterment of science communication. So for that purpose, also researchers can really contribute a lot. These are some of the new initiatives that we have taken, including water awareness, science community radio, developing a spirit of innovation, women empowerment, science communication archives, and we also give awards on various aspects of science and technology communication, and also contribute to the international cooperation. And these are some of the areas where we should be looking forward, like integrating science communication, science and media interaction, research, as I already said, some new journals to come up. And I have tried to classify these four outcomes: public good, strategic good, societal good, and private good. Whenever you are coming to the fold of science communication, you can realize all of them. And this is a diagrammatic presentation, how we are trying to bring the research to the core of media, and through media, we can communicate to the public. So two kinds of bridges, one between researchers and communicators, and the other between communicators and the public. And this is the whole gamut of science communication, is to have something like 10% science coverage in mass media. And this is the sign tune I referred in the beginning. I will conclude with here you can see that we want to convey this parasitology. So plants or animals which live or on others, draw nutrients from them for their survival, are called parasites, and the study of parasites is known as parasitology. So this simple knowledge we want to communicate. So how and look at this scientist is working in laboratory, the caricature, and some small creatures are talking to each other like paramecium, tapeworm, euglena, etc. What they are talking, just you read. See, these scientists, they exploit us for publishing research papers, getting PhDs, attending seminars, visiting abroad. Still, they call us parasites. So who is parasite? So this is the way these two elderly ladies, they are talking to each other. One is furious on other. And the communication, we want to communicate? We want to communicate, if you live in any of the metropolitan city of India, the smoke you inhale due to air pollution is equivalent to smoking 10, 20 cigarettes a day, which may be hazardous for your health. So one has cheated me. My daughter will never marry your son. It's okay that he doesn't drink, smoke, or doesn't take any drugs. But why did you hide this fact that he lives in Delhi? Delhi is the polluted city nowadays. I will conclude with this quote by Gautam Buddha, who said 400 BC before, that says, do not believe on whatever you are told or you yourself have experienced. Whatever your teacher says just because you respect him, but believe only after your own examination and analysis. It would be your guidance. Buddha further says, even do not believe on whatever I say unless you have tested it with due experimentation, as a gold business does for testing of gold by putting it into fire. And that is the essence of scientific temper. So with all these, I thank you all for your patience and giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Sir, thank you so much for this. It was such an informative, knowledgeable presentation. And very personally, I had heard your speech in Goa University. And that time, the very moment we had decided that we will invite you for a physical workshop in Punjab University to facilitate our researchers about importance of science communication. So thank you so much, sir. Because of COVID, we could not have a physical workshop in Punjab University, but we managed somehow in through webinars. So we got a chance to invite you, and it was a very, very, very nice presentation. Thank you so much. And
Thank you. I
sir,
also enjoyed talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was very nice. And we have got some questions. Most of the questions are from researchers from university only.
I can
So
take
if you
one or
want
two
to
questions
read
because
them,
I have other engagements.
okay. I'll take only one question. This is a very simple question, and this is also my doubt because, sir, there is a perception in India. You can say that if you'll write a very hi-fi English in your research paper, so your research paper will have a good impact. So, what do you think about this? Should it be complicated English, or we should make it very simple?
When it comes to what's required, even not in research communication, you have to be accurate and you have to be effective. So effective communication is required, even though it is research communication. But in popular communication, it is a prerequisite. It is mandatory. Unless you have the simple language, unless you have the interesting way of communication, people will not hear you or people will not listen to you. So that is the, I think, the major objective, how to make it lucid, how to make it comprehensible, and how to make it attractive. So these are the major prerequisites for popular science communication. But as I said, when you are communicating with your peer groups and they are understanding your communication, that is fair enough. But when it comes to communicating to the people at large, especially children, the farmers, and all these cross sections of the society, you have to be very, very careful for that so that they can understand whatever science you want to communicate.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. And another question is, like UGC recently removed some journal list from their approved journals. So it's like a very time-consuming task right now to find an appropriate journal to disseminate your research, to publish your research. So, what do you want to say something on this? Because it's like we are like how to search for a journal in UGC list.
I think that is very pertinent question, and I would like to suggest that UGC has started this care list. So whenever you have something in mind to be published, I think from care list you can find out because care gives the all recognized journals. Because otherwise there is a likelihood that one can fall prey of
Yeah.
this predatory journals which are really attractive. They claim to publish your research, but they are not. So you have to avoid that, and you have to avoid that, and only go for the careless or SCI journals.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. We have got many questions. I'll post them to you so that we can you can answer them through email. So thank you again from my side. Now I would like to invite Dr. Radhika Trikha to give a formal vote of thanks. Over to you, Radhika.
Thank you, Ms. Mamta. At the
Radhika,
outset,
can
I
you
would.
switch on your camera? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I switched on. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you once again, Ms. Mamta, for inviting me to deliver the vote of thanks. So, at the outset, I would sincerely thank Dr. Manoj Kumar Patairiya for facilitating this webinar with his enlightening and thought provoking talk on researchers as communicator for public awareness of science. I, on behalf of our team and audience, can surely say that this was one of the most engaging and learning webinar for all of us. Thanks to you, Dr. Manoj, for giving us insights on the role of science communication in advancing science and popularizing it amongst the students and young researchers. With this, I would take an opportunity to thank Department of Science and Technology for supporting the center's activity. My sincere gratitude to our worthy Vice Chancellor Professor Rajkumar for guiding us and constantly motivating us to set up a science policy arena in the university. A big shout goes to the DST-Centre for Policy Research team, our coordinator, Professor Nirmala, for organizing the webinar series back and forth. Our back-end team of this webinar, Dr. Mansimran, Ms. Mamta, Dr. Riddhi, Ms. Sukriti, Mr. Santosh, Dr. Shiraz, Mr. Rohan, and Mr. Ravi for their support and contribution. At last, I would like to thank our wider audience who are joining us today and a special applause to them for taking up the active engagement over the subject of the webinar. In fact, a unique subject, the science communication. With this, I thank one and all for making this webinar a success. Do join us for the next webinar series The next one is scheduled for 9th December 2020 on topic of science, technology and innovation, sub-national perspective, to be delivered by Dr. Jatinder Kaur, Executive Director, Punjab State Council for Science and Technology, Chandigarh, 3 p.m. onwards. We look forward to your participation and once again, thanks for joining. Have a good day, good evening to all. With this, now I request
Thank you.
Professor Nirmala to conclude the session with her final remarks. Ma'am, over to you.
Ma'am, I think you are muted.
Yeah, so Professor Patairiya has a very limited time, and we feel sorry that we could not address to all the questions. So he really took us to a beautiful journey, starting from 1888 to the present era. And he also really said one very important thing, that degree does not relate to the scientific temperament, which I agree, because I have a PhD in degree, but my gardener does grafting of plants, but which I cannot. So it's the curiosity, the mind and approach and your creativity, how you can take part in it is in your surroundings, the people you connect with, and how you can that, like Professor Patairiya said, there should be no technical jargon. So all these are very important, and we as researchers, we can help spreading in a very simple way in different forms. So I would like to thank all the faculty members, the participants, the students for joining us today. And also Radhika has also thanked. We have a very dedicated team in this center, starting with Mamta, Radhika, and then Shukriti is there, Santosh, Dr. Mansimuna, Dr. Shiraz is there, Rohan and Mr. Ravi. They have all been very instrumental in making this very successfully. Thank you again, all of you. And with this, we close today's seminar. We look forward to your presence in the next seminar, which Radhika just announced on 9th November. So thank you, 9th December, sorry. Thank you very much. And we conclude this webinar. Okay, thank you.
All right, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay.